parity, an even playing field, more competition, underdog stories. Parity in the NHL is a special thing, because no matter who you cheer for or what your team's circumstances are, every night, if your team comes ready to play, there's still a great chance they come out with a W. And so when it comes to trades, parity plays a massive role, as it creates a strong cloud of mystery. Will the acquired player have a massive impact on their new team? Will losing a star player cause a team to fall off? Time and time again, we have seen that it takes years to fully understand who won a trade. Because in a sport as unique as hockey, where it is more of a team-oriented game, the exchange of players can sometimes have an absurd effect on a team's success. In today's video, we're going to go over 5 trade outcomes that nobody would have predicted. So comment down below if your team has ever made a trade that made you think, what are you doing? But ended up working really well in the end. I'd love to know. And again, a big shout out to our new channel sponsor, which is CardsGen. You can see my ugly mug back there. And if you didn't catch last video, I will be giving away one of these awesome cards to you guys, so go check it out. The giveaway instructions are in that video. And CardGen makes high quality custom hockey cards in an assortment of sizes. You can add your headshot, you can do customized stats, and they are the perfect purchase for any hockey fan, or the perfect gift. So go check out CardGen, link is in the description down below, and use code RTH for 10% off your order. Let's get straight into this video. We'll start in 2013 with Schneider, who was traded to the New Jersey Devils on draft day that was actually also held in New Jersey. Because on June 30th, 2013, the Canucks would make a blockbuster deal.
We have a trade to announce. I think you're going to want to hear this.
Dealing one of the 2 starting goalies in Schneider for the 9th overall pick, which would turn out to be Bo Horvat. And so at the time, many people were beyond confused in this transaction, as Schneider was a proven elite goaltender who was just entering his prime. So back in 2013, acquiring a starting goaltender was an extremely hot commodity. So during the draft, when teams found out that all it took was the 9th overall pick, well, teams were shocked. Especially the Edmonton Oilers, who reportedly offered a much better deal, including the 7th overall pick, other picks, and a blue chip prospect. And so when he got to New Jersey, Schneider would heavily reinforce this narrative, as he would join the Devils and he was a superstar and had 3 phenomenal seasons. And considering that Vancouver would soon after lose Luongo to Florida, it looked like horrendous asset management from the Canucks. However, this trade has completely flipped upside down, because after his 3rd season with the Devils, Schneider would see a monumental fall, as he went from a consistent top goaltender in the NHL to being sent to the minors and being a very shaky goalie. And as for Vancouver, well, Bo Horvat has developed into their franchise centerman. He's utilized in a shutdown role, can produce 60 to 70 points, and is their leader. And so the Bo Horvat trade just goes to show how, especially with the exchange of draft picks, it can take years to truly understand who made the better deal. Next, we have Max Domi. Because in a fairly shocking manner, on June 15th, 2018, a massive trade would take place, as Max Domi was acquired by the Montreal Canadiens for Alex Galchenyuk. And when this trade took place, it didn't make any sense. And I'll even admit, I felt this strongly too. Because at the time, Max Domi was showing constant regression. As he broke into the NHL, looked like the next big player, but in his 3rd season, he would only score 9 goals. And as for Alex Galchenyuk, he had a far more proven track record, as he hit 30 goals a few years prior, and all signs indicated that he could be a 40-goal player. He dealt with some injuries, but even in a season where he missed over 20 games, he would still outscore Domi. And what really blew the minds of many analysts is that Marc Bergevin was vocally searching for a top 6 center. And considering that he didn't acquire another center, and Galchenyuk was a legitimate center, and Domi played wing for his entire career, literally nothing added up. But, surprising everyone, Max Domi, who would also prove he could transition into a center role, would go from 9 goals in 2018 to putting up 20 goals and 72 points the next season. And as for Galchenyuk, well, we would see some pretty massive regression, as he went from a 30-goal scorer in Montreal to putting up 41 points in his first season with Arizona, he'd get shipped off to Pittsburgh in the Kessel trade, where he'd only put up 5 goals and 17 points, which would ultimately get him traded again to Minnesota. Next, we have Kevin Fiola. And after watching Fiola dominate in this year's play-in round, I have a feeling that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Because on February 25th, 2019, a massive trade went down, as the Minnesota Wild would trade Mikael Granlund, who led their offense for half a decade, for Kevin Fiola, who was a 22-year-old inconsistent scorer, but had some serious upside. And considering that the Wild lacked scoring, and Granlund averaged nearly 70 points per season in the last 3 years before the trade, well, it just didn't make any sense. And what made it way worse is that Paul Fenton had publicly stated that he didn't even scout Fiola before the trade. And he was basically just like, yeah, I like Fiola, let's just trade our best player for him. And combine this with the fact that Fenton was stringing together a chain of terrible trades, not too many people were very confident in his decisions. And the Fiola trade wasn't the actual reason, but I guarantee it was actually mentioned during his firing. But to many surprise, Fiola this season has gone from that inconsistent scorer to a legitimate star, as he put up 54 points in 64 games and was the #1 driver of the entire Wild offense. And Fiola will still have to prove it, but if you watch him play, he has the upside of a #1 franchise winger. Whereas Mikael Granlund, who was the safer player, would have the worst season in his entire career, as he put up a dismal 30 points in 63 games. Now I do think Granlund can bounce back, but considering that Fiola is younger and has massive potential, many people were wrong about this trade. Next, we have PK Subban. No, not that one. Yes, that one. Because during the second round of the 2019 NHL Draft, PK Subban would be unloaded on the New Jersey Devils for Steven Santini, Jeremy Davies, and 2 second-round picks. And when this trade took place, there was actually a mutual agreement that it made sense. Because Nashville, who had a very deep defensive core, needed to shed Subban's cap space, and they needed that roster spot for Dante Fabro. And for the Devils, who had the cap to spare, they also acquired their cornerstone defenseman. And so with the acquisition of PK Subban, Gusev, drafting Jack Hughes, and the further development of Nico Hischier and Mackenzie Blackwood, the Devils were getting some serious respect and were looking competitive. Except, literally nothing would go to plan, as they started the season by losing 6 games in a row, Jack Hughes didn't transition well, and Subban was struggling. And overall, you just kinda knew this year probably wasn't the year. And so PK Subban would go from being a top 3 Norris candidate only 2 years prior, to having the worst season in his entire career, both offensively and defensively, on top of making $9 million per season. And I'm a big fan of Subban, so hopefully Subban and the Devils start seeing some more results next season. And lastly, we have JT Miller, who funny enough was also acquired during the second round of the 2019 NHL Draft. And when this trade happened, the majority of people thought this trade made no sense. Because for a Canucks team who had 5 top 10 picks out of the last 6 drafts, there was a real possibility they'd lose a high-end draft pick. And considering that JT Miller was basically the odd man out in Tampa and was going to be traded regardless, they were extremely happy with the first round pick, which they'd actually end up flipping for Blake Coleman. Unfortunately for the Canucks, JT Miller has been a star for Vancouver. And from a Canucks fan perspective, other than Jacob Markstrom, he has been Vancouver's MVP, as he led the entire team in scoring with 72 points in 69 games. He plays a very gritty game that supplements Pettersson and is a major leader. And for a Canucks team that was still expected to be pretty terrible this year, well, JT Miller and the Canucks have surpassed all expectations. Because as I record this video, the Canucks have just defeated the Blues in a dominating fashion, and are starting to get a lot of respect around the league. So on top of the fact that Miller is only making $5.25 million, which is a massive bargain considering the value he brought to his team, and considering that many people were so confused with this trade, JT Miller has proved all those people wrong. But anyways guys, has your team ever made a trade that made you very frustrated at first, but ended up being pretty good? Comment down below, I'd love to know. And make sure to go check out the channel sponsor, which is CarsGen, link is in the description down below, and use code RTH for 10% off your order. Anyways though, thank you guys for all the awesome support. The channel just hit 25,000 subscribers. It's just insane. So let's keep it up. Let's keep the grind going. Thank you guys for all the awesome support. I hope all you guys are doing well. See you guys later.